What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another Western York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today, once again, comes from the Brickyard Brewing Company, and they're out of Lewiston, New York, and this is their Stained Glass of Volume 1, and this is the 2025 release. So this is a Belgian-style Dark Strong Ale that comes in at 8.8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed, time of review. And this bottle is just under 1 month old. And full disclosure, I've had this one before. Actually, about a month ago, I had it at the 2025 Brewers Invitational, which was a beer fest that took place in Orchard Park, New York at the New York Beer Project Lodge. Fantastic time. Brickyard was pouring beers, including this one. I had like a 4-ounce sample of it. It was quite tasty. And the head brewer, Rudy Watkins, was like, "You want one to review for your channel?" And he didn't have labels on the bottle. So I was like, "I'll wait until you guys officially review it and pick one up." Totally forgot about it. However, recently I was in downtown Buffalo, so I checked out for the first time ever the Magic Bear Beer Cellar, which is an awesome craft beer bar / bottle shop. The owner, Craig, there was very nice and inviting. He showed me around, talked about like the price points, how much each beer was. They're all marked on the like bottles like this on the shelves for consumption there. And then for each one, you take $2 off. And then if you buy like a mixed 4-pack, it takes like another $2.50 off. Awesome selection. He had some beers that I haven't seen locally in the New York, the Western New York area. And if I lived in specifically in Buffalo or downtown Buffalo, I'd be there all the time, much like I am with Chris over at Brewed and Bottled in Lewiston. That's only like 15 minutes away from my house. Down to Buffalo a bit further. But if you are in Southern Ontario and you cross over the Peace Bridge and you're looking for a good beer, check Craig and his store out. Absolutely fantastic. And if you're in Buffalo, you probably already know about the store. Anyway, wanted to pick this one up because I had it at the beer fest. It was pretty damn good. On the back here, it says this decadent Belgian-style Quadrupel Ale. So quadruples are basically like the highest or strongest of the dark strong ales. It says is rich, warming, and malty with notes of cherry, caramel, and dark honey. Now, this is the first time they released it, they said, in 4 years, so probably 2020, 2021. And I never had the original one. It was like 12+%. This one's only 8.8. So yeah, anyway, and also, full disclosure, I opened this one off camera. I don't see if I had to tear right into the, look at the size of this cork. It was pretty far down, touching the beer. And when I went to open it, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, let me see if I can just, uncork and cage it. And if it loosens up, it does not. It was so tight. So I just opened it off camera. No big deal. Just wanted to make sure I didn't spend even longer on the review here. So anyway, we're going to finally pour it after like, whatever, like 3.5 minutes of me flapping my gums, because that's what I do. So using the Belgian tulip here, carbonation looks really nice on this one. Do something like that. Put this over here. I really like the simplistic kind of label too. Anyway, how does that look? Well, it definitely looks like some kind of Belgian strong dark. It has a beautiful like chestnut mahogany color. Like in person, it looks a little bit more reddish and like ruby and mahogany than it does on camera. Try to show. Yeah, that's a little bit too light, what you're seeing right there, honestly. But it's a little bit lighter than what you're honestly seeing as a whole. Decent carbonation, when I poured it out, has about a half finger of a straight up khaki colored head. Decent carbonation, hold up to light. Yeah, I'd say the beer itself, if you just put it right here, is more like a ruby, mahogany with like chestnut kind of colors, but maybe even amber, you could say. But as a whole, looks really nice. Has a decent clarity, but there is some murk in there. It is a Belgian beer, unfiltered, of course. Anyway, let's get a nose. Ooh, it smells real sweet. It smells like a perceived sweetness. What did they say? Cherry, caramel, and dark honey. The cherry and the honey for sure. It's like honey drizzled cherries. Big bready notes like brown bread. Molasses, like a molasses, almost like a molasses cookie to some extent. There's a little bit of like spices in here. Kind of like your typical Belgian spices. Like this is more like coriander, clove, but like you could even say like a cinnamon or a nutmeg or something like that. Yeah, there's caramelized sugars, there's caramel, there's toffee, brown sugar. I've said before, but blackstrap molasses. And then there's just an insane amount of dried fruit in here. Yeah, dried fruit for sure. I'd say like a raisin. Dried stone fruits like apricots, peaches, mangoes. Like it's a lighter, stone fruity kind of dry, like concentrated sweet fruit. Man, this smells really fucking good. There's some decent legs on here. I'll try to hold it up to the camera, see if you can see it. Get my face out of the way. The legs aren't showing you as well as they could, but yeah. This smells awesome. This smells actually better than when I had at Beer Fest. What I always say about Beer Fest and bottle shares, though, after you drink like a half dozen beers, your palate's pretty much shot. I'm not cleansing the palate in between every single pour, although sometimes I'll have like a sip of water. That doesn't do as much as you'd think all the time. I just remember this one being really a nice, Belgian strong dark, Belgian quad. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was also really nice. This smells fucking fantastic. So let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. I can't see how, if you are a fan of Belgian dark beers, stronger dark beers, and you're in the Western New York area and you can get over to Brickyard, I still think they have them available at the brewery or the Magic Beer Cellar or wherever else they got any of these bottles to. I could not see you not enjoying this one. Like, it's really nice. I love the dry finish too. Not much bitterness to speak of, but it's such a dry finish. Mine, this is higher side of light, higher side of medium, lower side of full. It's 8.8%, so I'm not expecting like a big, thick body. So it's a little bit lighter than you might think just based on what you're seeing and what you're smelling. But I think it's beautiful. I think this is more like higher side of medium, more so than lower side of full. It makes it very easy to drink because it's lighter on the palate, so it almost gives it like a refreshing quality or like a crushable kind of notion here. But I like the body quite a bit. The mouthfeel, it's a Belgian beer as a whole, so very effervescent, like higher side of moderate carbonation, spritzy on the palate, very effervescent, but still smooth and creamy going down. The taste is, they say cherries, caramel, and dark honey. I am definitely on board with a sweet dark cherry and definitely like a honey drizzled version, but this is so much more complex than the 3 notes they put on the bottle. Tons of like molasses. I'm getting a lot of molasses. There's definitely a brown bread kind of quality from the malt. There's also that dried fruit, that stone fruit, like apricot, mango, peach. It's a dried stone fruit mixed in with like raisins, dates, figs, all of them combined. There's a little bit of that caramel they're talking about, a little bit of toffee. I'd say more molasses than anything, maybe a touch of brown sugar. Big raisin note, like on that sip, like a very big raisin note. It's almost a little bit of like a cocoa powder too, giving me like a chocolate covered raisin, but more if like you had like an 80% cacao bar, but it had like pieces of like cherry raisin in it. That's kind of what I'm getting. The second half of the palate is where the Belgian yeast phenols kind of kick in with the spiciness. I'm getting more of like a clove. I would actually, let me take that back. I'd say more coriander than clove. It's coriander, clove, nice peppery kind of. Yeah, like nice like a white pepper too. Absolutely bone dry finish. This is super dry. Almost no bitter to speak of here though, and that's kind of, this style's like usually like mild to moderately bitter. This is very mildly bitter. It is sweet, it's rich, it's decadent, but man, it does dry out on the back of the palate. Very dry finish, very long dry finish too. I will say it's a little bit boozy on the palate, 8.8%. When I first took a sip, I get a little bit of ethanol. As my palate acclimates to it, it gets a little bit less intense with the alcohol. Definitely a big warming in my chest. But on the palate, it's hanging around. And, you kind of expect it. There's certain styles where I'm cool with like an 8+% beer actually showing the alcohol. Because if you rewind to 10, 12, 15 years ago, if you drank almost any beer that was like 7, 8+%, you would get the alcohol. You just would. Breweries have done a fantastic job hiding the alcohol over the years. But I still think a classic style like this, I want to taste a little bit of alcohol. I want it to be noticeable. This is supposed to be a sipping, slow sipping beer, not a chugger. Very rich, very decadent, quite complex, and quite tasty. Is it the best Belgian-style strong dark or dark strong ale I've ever had? It is not. Is it the best Belgian quad I've ever had? No. But for a local Western New York brewery, this is one of the better Belgian beers I've had outside of like the Brewery Ardennes. And there's another brewery in the Finger Lakes region too that does all like Belgian beers or mostly Belgian beers. Outside of that, like them who are specializing in or like Amagang or something. A lot of breweries try Belgian beers that just do all different types of styles and usually don't do them well. this is a job well done to Rudy and the crew over at Brickyard. You guys did a fantastic job with this one. At the Fest, I gave this like a 4 or 4.1 out of 5. This is better than that. It's still, again, not like an upper echelon world class take on the style, but man, is it fucking delicious. And if you're in the Buffalo, New York area, check out this beer if you can get your hands on it. Go to the brewery. It's well worth it. I'm going to pour all the goodies in here if there are any. I don't know. We'll see. Probably not. Didn't look like it. And it's fresh. You know, it's not like it's been hanging around for a long time. So, ooh, that like intensified the sweet dark cherry vibe. I would say the one knock on this one, I think that maybe some people will have against it, is if you are somebody who gets like medicinal flavors from cherry character in a beer, you might think this is a little bit medicinal. I could see where you're going with that one, like almost like a cherry cough drop. I'm not personally getting that, but I kind of know what type of folks would get that. It's like, are you somebody who thinks like Samuel Adams cherry wheat gives off like, you know, medicinal flavor? You might think this one does too. Just keeping it real. For me though, I don't get it, and I think it's a lovely beer. Yeah, not much more to say about it. It is a pretty damn tasty Belgian quad. You know, the only thing I would say about this one is that I'd like a little bit higher in alcohol. Like 8.8% quad just seems kind of, I don't know. Most times you see quads, they're, you know, 10+% or around that. So I'd like to see this one like 9.5 to 10% at the very least. But maybe that's why they're specifically calling it Belgian-style Dark Strong, even though they say Belgian-style quad as well. Regardless, you know, apples, oranges, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to give this Stained Glass Volume 1, the 2025 release from Brickyard. I'm going to give this a high 4.25, I'll go 4.3. This is really tasty, and they should be very proud about what they kicked out here, because very complex Belgian style Dark Strong Ale, for sure. No questions. All right, price point availability at the Magic Beer Cellar. Well, so this was $10 at the brewery, and I think Craig had this one for, I think it was $15 on the shelf. Remember, if you go $2 off, so $13 for this. Again, you got to make some money somewhere. Same thing with the aforementioned Chris. Any bottle shop around here that costs more than the brewery, that's usually how it works. Everybody has to make money. Now, if you hit a distributor in between, you even got to, you know, price it further because they're helping out. At the end of the day, I have no issues paying, you know, almost $1 an ounce for this. I think it's worth it. Or is it $1 an ounce? Is this a 12? Yeah, it's $3.75. So this is 12.7 fluid ounces. So yeah, I'm fine with that. But the $10 at the brewery's a good deal. So if you're in the Lewiston area, you definitely go to the brewery and pick it up. Yeah, so I just want to make sure I get this, because I didn't know if they had any left at the brewery. And since I was in his store, I was like, you know what? He's got it. I'm going to grab it. Same thing with a couple of Griffin Brewing beers out of Youngstown. I haven't went to the brewery yet, so when I was there, he had a couple of the releases. I was like, oh, I'm going to grab one or two different of their anniversary beers to, you know, to make sure that I secured them. So yeah, 10 at the brewery, 13 at the Magic Beer Cellar, which is, I think, a competitive price. And then I don't know who else this made it out to, but I would say seek it out if you like the style. And availability, again, Brickyard. I know the Magic Beer Cellar has it. I don't know who else has it, but this is great. This is great for what this beer is. Stylistically, I'd give it like a 4.5, 4.6, something like that. But personal preference, 4.3. Couple things I would like to see change with it. For my own personal preference, maybe a little bit more bitterness. You know, maybe a little bit more, like, again, that cherry is definitely, as I'm sitting here, kind of dominant to some degree, and I do feel the booze, so maybe if you tone down the booze, especially in the chest, like, I don't mind it on the palate, but the chest, it's very warming, but, you know, that's kind of, again, what the style dictates, so it is what it is. So anyway, if you're in the West New York area and you've had this beer, please post in the comments section. If you had this one prior, back in, you know, 4 or 5 years ago with the first release of it, let me know what you thought about it. Again, I didn't have that one, but I've had this one, and this one's pretty damn good. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another West New York Wednesday. Check back next Wednesday for another offering, and until then, cheers.